What is up, everybody? Good evening, Monday night, special edition of Monday Night Ballers. We're going to bring in a couple of guests here in just a few seconds. As everybody gathers on, we're going to talk about the state tournaments get underway tomorrow. So, welcome aboard. We appreciate you joining us tonight. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my two guests for this evening, and we are going to chop it up. As we get going here, feel free if you have questions, you want your questions answered, get them in the chat. We want to hear what you have to say. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Adam Peak, who's going to join me here on the live, and then I'm going to bring in high school state championship basketball. Super excited to have these two guys on the show tonight. Hopefully all goes well and we'll be able to pull them in here. There's Adam. What's up, buddy? Can you hear
Did I
me
do
okay?
it? Am I
Yes.
interneting?
You are on live. We just need to see if we can get Hector on here too. So we sent him an invite. We'll see if he can pop on here.
I made it, Mom.
Monday Night Ballers, special edition. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was just looking at my Uncle Bob joined. What's up, Uncle Bob? You're gonna be super bored watching us talk about Utah high school basketball, I'm sure. But
Right.
listen, Jordan, you mean you need to say something? It's the world champion Denver
Oh,
Nuggets.
geez.
If you're
Here
gonna come in
we
and say
go.
they suck, I'm just saying they are the defending world
I love
champions.
it. Send an
Yeah.
invite to Hector. We'll see if he is able to jump on. Should be no problem. Hector, if you're on there, if you can't see the invite, go ahead and invite me, and I'll have to bring you on in here. So, obviously, a lot to talk about before we get started in this. Obviously, you were at the Judge Memorial Morgan game on Saturday. 3A state tournament is well underway. Some interesting matchups coming up. But what did you see from Judge on Saturday? They look good.
Yeah. Yeah, first of all, hello everybody. I'm Adam, and I talk about basketball and packaging, mostly packaging on LinkedIn. But yeah, so I got to go check out the Judge game. It was funny because maybe not funny, but it's a 1 p.m. start on a Saturday, and you're on the road, right? So it's like, hey, what's up, Hector?
What's up, guys? Getting it figured out. Hector Marquez from Prep Hoops. We appreciate you joining us. Obviously, Adam Pink from Utah High School Basketball Podcast. You want to check those guys out. Bringing a lot of content here to the state of Utah. So, Adam, tell me about that Judge
Yeah,
game.
so
Obviously, at 1 p.m. start, kind of
they
crazy,
got
right?
out. Yeah, so Judge got out, to a bit of a slow start, and a lot of that was just Morgan was making a bunch of shots, and they played exceptionally well. I'll give a shout out to Coach Sanyon. He made some adjustments in the second quarter and the third quarter, and switched up defenses a little bit. Ran Aiden Saucedo, who was getting face guarded, ran him through some screen actions to free up some shooters, and Judge pulled away and took a 10-point lead in. So, yeah, it was a good game. Judge has been playing well down the stretch. They won region, and going into the state quarterfinals, they've got Emory, who's a 2 seed, and going to be down in Richfield, which, by the way, the Fairfield Inn in Richfield, Utah. Did you see that? They're charging $1,300 a night. I'm like, come on, guys. Like,
Let's,
let's just calm down for 1 second. My rent when I first got married, which was 21 years ago, shout out to my wife, who's amazing, was $700 a month to rent a two-bedroom apartment in Fort Collins. Can't be charging no $1,300 for a night in Richfield. Calm down,
the
everybody.
Marriott
Anyway,
Bonvoy points go by quickly when you're trying to pay for a $1,300 hotel
yeah,
room.
man, me and the Best Western, we're gonna be hanging out.
I
Sorry,
love it.
Marriott.
I love it, Hector. You followed JJ Pathgang, his career. You spent some time with him. What makes him such a special talent?
I think that one of the biggest things that he possesses is that quick first step. Um, his wingspan is pretty impressive. And so when he does put that ball out in front and gets that step on you, it's just really hard for defenders to keep up. And so when he does use that physicality to kind of cut them off, it usually results into an and one or just an easy finish. And over the years, his athleticism has increased, but
Mm.
when he's on, man, he's just a tough stop.
He's a tough
Yeah.
he's a tough cover. And I've been telling people the whole year. I mean, obviously, I don't think people realize Judge's schedule was not cupcakes. They were playing Weber. They played Orem. They lined up that schedule for this very reason. So if you look at their schedule coming into the state tournament, you're like, oh, these guys aren't that good, but they're showing everybody that they can play. Obviously, they got a tough game coming up with Emory. Same side of the bracket there. Let's go through these real quick. Ogden is going to play Union. That sets up an Ogden versus Emory or Ogden versus Judge semifinal, which is a good one. Then obviously on the other side, you got South Summit versus American Heritage, and Manti taking on Richfield. So a region matchup there as well. So big fan of the Ogden Tigers. They haven't been good since Buddy Revell was fighting at the 3 o'clock high movie, but 30 years ago, 25 years ago.
I
So it's
don't
good to see the
understand.
Tigers.
I don't understand your Utah references past about 2017. So anything pre 2018, 2017, I got nothing for
It's
you.
a
So
movie. It's
sorry.
called 3 O'clock High, and it was filmed at Ogden High School. You got to go check it out. It's a pretty good movie. You actually like that. That's
AJ,
dated
I moved
myself, but
here. I moved here from Colorado, and I hate to, but 3 o'clock high means something different in Colorado these days.
yeah,
Just
as
so
long
you
as
know.
yeah, we'll move on, right?
Sorry, are those
Let's
jokes not
jump into the
allowed? I don't know. I don't know. Sorry, Utah Ballers. I apologize.
let's jump into
Uh,
the 4A bracket, you guys. We'll just go 4A, 5A, 6A here. Obviously, the talk of the town over the last month is LCA versus Dixie. I've been calling it the Dixie Invitational all season long. Don't know if that was fair to everybody else, but Hector, we'll start with you. Did the RPI get it right, having Ridgeline, LCA, Dixie, Cottonwood, all with the capabilities of meeting up in that Final Four?
I think that the 4A bracket was probably the most accurate when it comes to the seating. But yeah, I mean, obviously Dixie is really good. Cottonwood is different. I know Chris Cox has 10 games under his belt with them. LCA, kind of they speak for themselves. They got a lot of guys on that team. The other teams that I think we're really not talking about is that Murray team. Murray is scary. I mean, Quentin Chrisman, he is as shifty as they come, and he's little
he
and
tore up Highland, right? I mean, Murray's
he
got a Highland win under their belt, and he was huge in that game.
yeah, I got to see Murray play quite a few times, and they just got 20 guards that they can just throw in there that can get you. Isaiah Bay is really good. But it's almost like it's another guy's turn every game, and that's what kind of makes them tough to beat. I mean, Provo, I know you've talked about Provo before, AJ.
Yeah.
I think Jason Carter is a big-time sleeper for the next level.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if he's a D1 guy yet. He hasn't proven that level. But he's a guy that you can take at the next level and build. And they obviously got Aaron Castagnetto over there, who's a stud. And then you got Logan. I mean, Jordan Child over at Logan, he's playing angry. It seems like I think Logan has been disrespected for the past few years, and I think Jordan's just done with it. But yeah, I mean, Ridgeline's good. You got Carson Cox, Jagger Frankham. I feel like they're like fifth-year seniors. It seems like, who wants to play against Owen Mackey? I mean, no one's trying to get on a poster. Who else you got? I mean, Desert Hills. What is it? Eli? Is it Eli Allred over there?
Allred, yeah, he's been balling.
I mean, Green Canyon. Didn't they beat LCA earlier?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, you don't want to get – I mean, if you get Jared Anderson on the wrong night, I mean, he's going to drop 30. And then you got Mountain View. I think people are forgetting about Mountain View. I think you have not seen the best out of Mountain View. Bryce Mella and who has Connor Fairbanks. I mean, they got some guys over there. So, I mean, Dixie is not immortal. I think they have some excellent players. I honestly think the key to Dixie winning it all is not Kyle Lemke or Jordan Roberts, because they're going to do their thing, but I think it's Brecken Robinson. And every close game, he is usually the second or third leading scorer. And so So I don't know. I think it's going to be very entertaining. Dixie is obviously the favorite. They got a bullseye on their back, but I mean, what year does Dixie not have a bullseye on their back?
Yeah. I mean, they're looking at a matchup coming up, a repeat of I believe last week with Desert Hills. If Desert Hills can get by Jordan, just kind of a side note here. I saw somebody posted today the amount of miles that some of these teams have to drive to get down to St. George. Granted, the weather is probably a lot nicer than it is up here, but when you're driving 300 plus miles to play a basketball game, that's not going to be easy. But guys, let's back up for just 2 seconds because Hector, you talked about Murray. Murray's looking at a second round game of Provo versus Park City. As much as I love my guys up on the hill, I think Provo's going to move on there, right? Obviously, Provo presents some challenges, but then say Murray gets by Provo and they're playing a team likely Layton Christian. How are they going to match up with the Tyron Joneses, with the Alan Gabalus? Those guys are just big. 6'9" for Tyron, 6'7". I don't know what Alan weighs, probably 260.
He's a big boy.
At the explosive.
Right.
How do you match up with those guys if you're Murray and try and keep that game within reach?
I
I think sorry, I think that and I've talked to you guys about this before. Like I like to think in terms of probability, and I think we all are speaking in probability, right? So this is just how my dumb brain works, which is to your point, right? I think if it's a 7-game series, I think LCA, probably wins, 4 of the 7 games, maybe in 5 or 6, but this isn't. To your point, right? This is a single elimination tournament. I brought this up multiple times. I still think that I think that Murray is going to struggle to contain Tyron and Alon. They're just a load, and especially again, it cuts the other way, right? In a single elimination tournament, you got to play. I think Murray has to play a perfect or a close to perfect game, and I think LCA has got to play an average game. But if you talk to Coach Stanley, he'll tell you LCA is perfectly capable of playing an average game. They haven't exactly just strolled through everyone. I mean, they lost to Provo, they lost to Green Canyon. I'm sure I'll miss some teams, but I would bet on LCA over Murray if somebody made me bet. But I think Murray or Provo, for that matter, either one of those teams, clearly Provo's already shown it's capable. Yeah. And
that would be round 3. That series is tied up 1-1 with 2 very close games. Both of them were good games.
Yeah.
I'll say this: Murray doesn't have to change the way they play. They're playing the same way, and they'll always play the same way. Where other teams have to adjust to them, and I think adjusting on the fly is a very difficult thing to do. And one of the things that I've noticed through my years is if you get the other team to change their defense, they're already on the ropes and you could take them. Murray's obviously going to spread them out. If you look at stats, LCA's got 2 guys that are dangerous from 3. Murray has everybody on the dang floor that's dangerous from 3. Coach Workman does a fantastic job. If Murray upsets Layton Christian, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, yeah, LCA is big, but I mean, who has Murray been bigger than this year? So,
yeah. But it's an upset, though, to your point, right? Like, not just from the seeding, but like my point would be like the expectation would be LCA is going to come out of that side of the bracket, but it's not impossible to think. I mean, candidly, though, you look through this whole bracket, and it's the same with 5A and 6A, I think, as well, right? Like, there's a lot of matchups where you're like, if let's say Mountain Crest gets by Payson, would we be surprised if they beat Logan? I mean, you go look at their schedule; they had a load of. I think they played a triple overtime game against Logan. So
well, guys, that's assuming that Layton Christian will even be there, right? Because I promise you, you mentioned Castanedo. I guarantee you those guys want every bit of Layton Christian for round 3, especially after what happened. And I made a big deal about it, rightfully so, in my mind, about what happened down there at the Provo game with LCA. A lot of craziness going on there. But I promise you that one will be worth breaking out the popcorn bucket. That second round game.
Can I give my hot take to you, though? Can I give my hot take here?
Please.
I don't know if it's a hot take or not because I think LCA is an underdog number one seed. I think
Wow.
if you were to when I say that, I mean the talk of 4A has been Dixie for the most part, and LCA got the one seed in the RPI, which is a whole other conversation about how the RPI is set up. But that we can save that one for another one of these fantastic Instagram live sessions. I think LCA is going to take what happened down in Provo. I think they're going to take this stupid, dumb petition, whatever that was. I hope that nothing happened with that. I'm assuming it didn't because they're in the
Looks
bracket.
like they're playing.
Yeah, and I think that you just need a little bit of motivation and some talent and good coaching. And I think LCA. My prediction would be that LCA is going to win the state champion in 4A. I think they're going to take it. That's my I don't know if it's a hot take or not because they're the one seed, but it feels like a bit of a hot take. You guys know I've seen LCA play a couple times. I've seen Tyron play a bunch from last year with Congo, and I think you just need a little motivation and a guy gets hot at the right time. They've already won some tournaments, and Tyron has shown up big in those tournaments, and that's my maybe not so hot take.
Hector, talk to us about Cottonwood. You mentioned Chris, obviously coming back, and they've been rolling ever since been back in the lineup. The thing that I've noticed with Cottonwood is that Chris will have a 10-point game, a 12-point game, and then he breaks out for a 28-point game. I was talking to some of my people up there in Bear River, and they were kind of scouting ahead a little bit, asking, how do you defend him? How do these teams in four, because he's a Division I talent, right? I mean, there's not many kids outside of there's some of these teams where there's some scattered college guys in there, but Chris is going to pose some problems. Does Cottonwood have enough to get to Dixie, assuming Dixie makes it that far as well, and ultimately move on past Dixie? Do you think they have the juice there?
Um, I mean, I don't want to come on here and hate on any teams
No.
or any players. I actually ran into Chris Cox on Sunday. He was getting some shots up at my gym, and even last week. But Cottonwood has a few guys that people don't talk about. We always hear about Cox and Rosevear,
Yeah.
but Peter, I hope I don't say his name wrong, Oguana or something like that. He's tough, and he can guard taller guys because he's pretty strong. And then you got Luke Park.
Shifty point guard, yeah.
So they have the guys, but how many perfect games do you need to play in order to get all the way? And if you have to play 2 or 3 perfect games to win the whole thing, like that's just not a realistic thing for these, teenagers to do. And at the end of the day, it comes down to luck. Like all the
Yep.
talent in the world, but luck is what's going to get you to the state final. Cottonwood has the horses to kind of get there. I just don't think that. I mean, Dixie's too good in my opinion. I mean, I'm already envisioning Kyle Lemke going like this, hold the trophy.
So
But
let's do this, you guys. Let's wrap up 4A here. Give me your final four. Give me your final two, and who's cutting it down?
I can give you mine because it's probably the least impressive because Hector's like recall of humans who are playing. I'm like clicking through things. I'm like, yeah, who is this guy? You guys have been living and breathing this for a while. I just am running this dumb podcast. I got Cottonwood. I got LCA. It was tough for me. My I think Crimson Cliffs might be able to surprise some people and beat Green Canyon, but I got Ridgeline coming out of that one,
Yeah.
and then Dixie, and then LCA versus Dixie, which I think is not a very like if this was like a March Madness thing, people would be like, come on, like fine. But I agree. I just think that those are the two best teams, and I got LCA with the upset, even though they're the
Wow.
top seed.
Hector, who you
yeah,
got?
I got Cottonwood, Dixie, Ridgeline, and
Okay.
LCA.
We all agree there. All four teams. Who do you got in the championship?
Um, I think it's gonna be LCA. Sorry. Yeah, LCA. I think it's gonna be LCA Dixie.
Yeah.
You're gonna get all the small schools turned into transformers, and they're all gonna be rooting for Dixie. And I've been there before. You know, when I was over at Summit Academy, people don't like the small school. The small towns don't like any of the private or charter schools. It is what it is. They've been trying to get rid of LCA since Bobby Porter was like probably in his 60s. It's just not going to happen. It's the Utah High School Association's thing. It's not their thing.
Yep.
They always put the play up, but the Utah High School Association doesn't let them. So just live with it. If they beat you, they beat you. If you beat them, they're going to be fine too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and so let's not gloss over the fact that these are kids, right? And
Yeah.
we've all heard a lot of stuff, right? We've heard about the petition and we've heard about all this stuff. And I've talked to some of the LCA kids about their experience this year, which I mean, obviously, if it's true and you give that this is their reality, I mean, it's unfortunate, right? You know, to Hector's point, it's the UHSAA that is putting them where they're at, and they're going to be fine one way or the other. If they were a 500 ball club, I don't think there would be nearly as much brouhaha going on. But they're really good this year. They got two kids, and I promise you, if you don't get them this year, good luck next year when Tyron and Allen are seniors. But I got the same four in there. I got LCA and Dixie in that final game. I've been calling it the Dixie invite all season long. I just think execution-wise, they'll be able to handle the press that LCA is going to throw on them. I think they'll be able to handle the height. I think Dixie will get that done, and they've had a great run this season. Let's move on to 5A, you guys. Obviously, you got a ton of very interesting matchups in the first round tomorrow. Super excited. Obviously, you know I'm biased, of course, my Woods Cross kids. We don't even need to talk about them. But if you look through that first round, just kind of go through these real quick. Wasatch and Box Elder, I think that's a good one. Up at Wasatch. Obviously, Elijah Kersey's having a great year. Isaacson's going to be a problem for Wasatch. West Jordan and Hunter. You got East and Roy. I love Roy. Roy is super undersized, but they are scrappy. That's a tough squad right there. Juan Diego Clearfield. Let me just go through these real quick. Cedar Valley and Bonneville. Bollinger is going to muck that game up. You know it's going to be a crazy close game. Cedar Valley obviously has got a huge size advantage against those guys. Maple Mountain and Viewmont is very similar as well. Woods Cross, a 23 seed that's probably playing some of the best basketball out of a lot of those teams right now. They've won 5 out of the last 6, 5 out of the last 7. So Northridge and Salem Hills, another good one. So if you look at these first round games, you guys, what's one that kind of catches your eye? What are you watching for tomorrow?
I'll go.
Well, I'm pulling for your boy. Sorry, Etai, but I like a good underdog story. I like, Woods Cross obviously was, it better than I do, but just following him along because, I respect you and Hunter and AJ get to work out a little bit with Cena, and it's been cool to see their run that they went on. So it may not be the most intriguing game. I'll tell you what though, whoever wins that game, and I'm not going to go ahead to Springville, but Springville is both tough and a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde. And they better not be scouting Olympus quite yet, because I think either Skyline or Woods Cross, you catch Skyline in you catch Springville in one of those days. So again, I'll talk about him for a while. Hunter Jackson's playing out of his mind. I like it. And it's
and who's my guy Bryson? Hey, Bryson. I didn't even know what he was going to talk about.
My guy Bryson Watson from the next 50. I was watching him play. I was like, holy crap, this kid can he's like Klay Thompson. He dribbled like 4 times and scored 50 points. So anyway, there you go. Hector, you go for it.
Just to add to what you're saying, I was actually at that Bountiful Woods Cross game, and Hunter did have an excellent game. They had that really buff kid. What's his name?
Ben Smith Meekum.
Ben Smith. Jeez, that kid is out there. I don't know how much creatine he took before the folks. He was all over the dang floor. That Polton kid played really well. I think they're starting to learn how to play together at the right time. So who knows what's going to happen. They're going to but the game that I'm kind of more intrigued about is Salem Hills and Northridge.
Mm-hmm.
The Fighting the Graffin reads, holy smoke. Um, I I would not be surprised if he drops a 50 piece, and loses. I don't know. I don't know. Um, but Salem Hills. I mean, Northridge. That should be a fun game. Hopefully, they score a ton of points.
Yeah.
But
The one player I'm gonna bring up in that game, Hector, that you're gonna want to keep an eye on is Bentley Whittier because he's struggled the last couple of games. Obviously, he was the focal point of that Northridge offense. I look for him to have a big game against Salem. I watched Salem Hill's game. Obviously, scouting ahead, I was anyway for Springville a little bit, and I watched the 42-point game that DeGraffenry had. I think that Whittier is going to get big numbers tomorrow. And
He
if he does
torched
that,
Judge. He torched Judge. Whittier did.
he can
He
play.
put.
He can
Yeah,
play.
he can go.
He
Yeah.
can play. And then you got some guys that are alongside him that can really shoot the rock too. Northridge, that's a great game. I mean, that's a great pick. That's probably the one game that outside of the one that obviously I'm invested in, that you look at it, you say, yeah, that's a good one. The thing with Chase though, Chase could put any one of these teams out,
Hmm.
yep.
right? I mean, he could go off and put anyway. I mean, looking ahead if they get to Olympus. So that's a dangerous game tomorrow. It's going to be important to see who moves on out of that one. Box Elder Wasatch, you guys talk about Sam Lynn. He's probably one of the most underrated kids in the state, but he's had some big
Yep.
games this year for Wasatch, and they've surprised a lot of teams. But then you got a Box Elder team that's been all over the place. They were hot early in region, kind of tapered off a little bit, but Elijah Kersey having a great senior year, hit 1,000 points. Isaacson's playing well. You got Wilkinson out there shooting the three well. So that game is one that I've got my eye on because I think that one's very closely matched.
Yeah, I don't think the seeding kind of matches up in that game. I think they're pretty evenly matched. I've had the chance to watch Sam play quite a bit, and he turned from a shooter to like just a good all-around player that's gotten strong. I like Elijah Kersey. He's just, I don't know, his motor is just really good. I know he's very right-hand dominant, but even when you know where he's going, like he gets there. Like he had a battle with Hunter. I tuned into that one a little bit.
Yeah, that was a great game.
It was a good game, but I don't know. I'll go Box Elder on that one. I don't know. Elijah Kersey's pretty tough.
And I think
I haven't.
I think Isaacson's going to cause some problems for Wasatch. Obviously Lynn and those guys. I mean, he's a big body inside. If he stays inside, doesn't float out there shooting the threes. And I love the Roland Hall guys asking me not to call them the Flying Cats.
I was gonna say,
it.
what's Zach doing?
The Wing Lions, right? We're sticking on 5A right now.
The wing and line. By the way, did you know there's my sister went to Point Loma Nazarene, and they're the Sea Lions, which is a lion that's like emerging from the sea. It's not like the sea lion animal. It always made me laugh. That game's at Wasatch though, right?
Yes.
I mean, emotions get going if they get enough people out there and they can get I think sometimes we just forget, like, winning at someone's place is not easy, and especially if it's a playoff game and you get in someone's ear or something like that. I'll take Wasatch in that game over Box Elder, but I like Sam a lot. I like JJ. Did you say his name Sear or Siri? I don't remember, but he's long. He's got a couple of game winners, I think, this year. Can handle it a little bit. So I'll go with Wasatch, and again, just kind of like with Springville, Timpview better not be looking at Orem, because Wasatch or Box Elder is gonna come in, and they're gonna have something to say, I think, about that game. Wasatch gets crazy up there. Is that what someone said in the comments? All right. Well, by the way, I posted something once. I don't remember. I think it was probably on Instagram, about a game. I was watching Wasatch play, and my sister, Kristen, I love you. She's like, "That's not Wasatch." I'm like, "That's because you just covered Wasatch Academy. This is a different Wasatch high school." I know that is not John Mobley playing.
I love it. Looking ahead to the second round, obviously, and I just invited the Bountiful coach on there, see if he pulls up. If he comes on, we'll chat with him. But you got Cedar Valley, Bonneville winner playing Bountiful. Cedar Valley, if they can get by Bonneville, which I think they will, that's a rematch of an earlier game that was, I think it was around Christmas or New Year's. Owen Baden did not play in that game, and it was close. It was down to the wire at Bountiful. I think Bountiful was playing better than they were at that time. But obviously that game is intriguing. And then obviously if you look a little bit ahead of that one, a Bountiful Highland quarterfinal matchup is something that I'm really looking forward to.
That'd be a fun game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been able to watch both of those teams play. Judge played at Bountiful. I had Coach G was on my podcast, and I've known the Drisms now for a few years and been able to watch Highland play a little bit. I do think that that's a really intriguing matchup, for sure. If it gets there, obviously, we're looking ahead, and like Hector said, we're not trying to disparage or like talk down, but we're just like take it for motivation, right? If you're Viewmont or Maple Mountain, you're just like, why are you just talking? Okay, then take it as some motivation, guys. Just go for it. But if in fact we do get a Bountiful Highland game in the quarterfinals,
Yep.
Yeah, quarterfinals, I would, again, similar to what I said in 4A with like LCA and Murray, I would take Highland. It would not surprise me if Bountiful gets hot. They've got good guard play. Who's the kid for the Mountain Stars? Heath,
Yeah.
the point guard. They got Dose Smith
Yep.
out there. There's like four Smiths on the team. I feel like it's like between the Smiths and the Dangs. When Bountiful and Judge played, you could put like the Smiths versus the Dangs out there on the court. And then the big kid, number 11, the lefty. Yeah, he's a load. But Highland also is big, also has good guard play. They can all shoot it. So if both teams are playing well, I think Highland wins. But if Bountiful gets hot at the right times, and I think Highland is capable of not winning that game. I'll say that. But go ahead, Hector. You tell me about some player I've never heard of, and what they were like in 8th grade, and then.
Hector, what quarterfinal matchups do you want to see? What would be intriguing to you? And looking at my bracket that I filled out, I got a Tent View Aura matchup, a Highland Bountiful, Alta Brighton. Which one stands out to you that you're like, okay, this is going to be good if we get there?
I mean, I just want to see Olympus, Springville probably. Just to go with something you guys haven't talked about. Springville is playing a different brand of basketball right now. They've inserted a Swift Hall into the lineup, and he's playing very well. I think he's meshing good with some of those other guys, but I'm curious what Olympus is going to do with Jamin. He is just tough. But Olympus doesn't care who they play, how big you are. They will slay anybody. I would.
And Dutch is a problem. Dutch is, I think he would cause so many problems for anybody on that side of their bracket.
He would, and I mean, Dutch and Jordy will just shoot from NBA range, and it just throws your defensive. Like, you usually don't guard people out there, and then you have to, and then you have Reef kind of on the island, and that's why you score so many buckets, as you're focusing on, Jordy Barnes and Dutch Dowdell. That Reef gets some good buckets here and there, and I think he's their second leading scorer right now. But that would be a very interesting matchup. I don't know how many fouls Olympus is willing to sub in, because they go like 7 deep. So that's a good one. I mean, I'm sure Alta Breton would be good. I think Alta will want that game back where Ace wasn't effective and Jackson was sick. But I don't know. At the end of the day, I think it's going to be Olympus Alta. No disrespect to anybody. I think Bountiful and Highland are very capable. I would not be surprised I don't think there's very many players out there that can guard like a
Yeah.
Drisdom. Maybe just Ace Riser and Jordy Barnes. Um, but I Alta and Olympus, I don't know. That's a coin
Good.
flip.
Adam, who do you got in that final four?
Yeah, so I've got let's see, I got Orem, I got Alta, I got Highland, and I've got Olympus. I did want to say though about that Olympus Springville game. I've been really impressed with Mason Hansen this year. He's really turned himself into I think you're talking about Sam Lind, kind of transitioned from just like a shooter into a scorer. Mason's really done a great job at making that transition from his freshman to his sophomore year. So I just want to give him a quick shout out. I agree, though. I think it'll be too much. I think Olympus is going to get in there. If we see Timpview Orem, I think that's going to be a tough game. I've got Alta, and I went back and forth on this because Highland beat Olympus at Highland. Olympus beat Highland at Olympus. It's a neutral site. You're playing in. Where are these playing? What is UOFU? Where is this being played at?
U
Oh,
of
it's the
U.
University of Utah. U of U. Go Nuggets. U UOFU. I'm such an idiot. It literally just says UOFU. I'll go with some Drisdom magic back at the U of U, and Highland gets the opportunity to have a close game in the championship and lose to Alta. That's what I got Alta over Highland.
Interesting. I love it. So I'm a little bit different than you guys. I've got Timpview beating Orem. What a matchup. I mean, the last one came down to big Mason Ford 3. I mean, that was a crazy matchup. I've said this for the last year and a half about Dean Rooker. He is capable of putting any team on his back and making a deep run. Like, he's so tough. Such a tough matchup. Obviously, Orem has a lot of guys that can defend. Jax Allen. They got good shooting. I like Timpview. They've kind of been under the radar, even though they've been there. I like Alta, obviously. It's amazing how many people have written Alta off after, Ace hurts his ankle and Jackson gets sick, and all of a sudden they're not good anymore. It's like, what are we doing here, guys? I have Olympus. I had Olympus and Alta in the championship game prior to this, if you remember right, Adam.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Bountiful making a run to that Final Four. I've seen them play probably 5 times this year. I think that the coaching staff there, Supina, has those guys believing. I think they'll play better than they are. I think they're ready for what's coming. And Carson Smith, and we haven't really talked a lot about him, but that kid is playing excellent basketball. He'll be the region player of the year. He's had a fantastic season. I think he'll be region player of the year, obviously. But the thing about those guys is that you get a guy like Charlie Smith. I saw it the other night. You give him an inch and it's just cash. Like, it's gone. Carson Smith can shoot it. They have the Heath kid. If Heath is in the 15 to 18 point range, they're really tough to beat, right?
Yep.
Woods Cross did a great job of keeping Heath kind of at bay, and lo and behold, they were in the game, right, the whole way. I like Bountiful. Falatau adds we weren't even sure if he's going to play this year, and obviously he's added a ton to what they do. Very athletic, can help with the rebounding. I love Highland. No, Highland's tough. I'm a big Drisdom guy myself, but I got Alta and Olympus in that final game. I don't know who's going to win that one. I haven't decided yet. I'll come back to that later. There's so much to be said about championship medal, and they both have it, right? You've got freaking Dutch and Jordy, and it doesn't matter who they play, they will just. I mean, I was watching tape of the the Olympus Highland, or no, Olympus and Skyline game from, I think it was Friday. Within the first 3 minutes, Dutch had like 5 threes, and they were just blowing the door. I mean, they just come at you so fast. Man, no, that's some good matchups there. I love that. Let's jump to 6A, you guys. Obviously, this bracket is very interesting. When it first came out, obviously, the side that stood out the most was the side up there that has Corner Canyon, Pleasant Grove, and then you got Bingham and American Fork playing in that first round. And then as you get through those, on the bottom side of there, you got Layton and Farmington and Weber all on the same side.
You
So
got
if you're going
Region
to come
One.
out of that side of the bracket, congratulations, Layton, on going 20-1 or 23, whatever it was. Here's your reward. What do you guys see in that half of that 6A bracket? How do I mean, obviously the RPI, I think there's got to be some common sense to that, right? I can't imagine that corner American Fork and Layton all on the same side makes a whole lot of sense to me, at least. What do you guys think?
I think for Layton, it's or can I say Layton? What is up with Utah and just like Cottonwood?
It's
Layton. It's like, yeah,
Laydin. Just go with
exactly.
Layton. You're good.
Layton. Uh, there's an old adage in basketball. It's hard to beat a team three times, and that Farmington Weber game is going to be a dogfight for sure. Um, and whoever emerges from that one, Layton has played that team twice already and had close games with them both. And now you're at a, you're at a, what's UOF? No, I'm just playing. But you're at a neutral
Yep.
site, and Layton just has to be like, what did we do? What did we do wrong to deserve having to go out and play another region team if they, assuming that they get by either Copper Hills or Syracuse,
They could
um,
play Syracuse, who they've already played
who they've already
twice.
played twice too. Yeah. So you have to basically go back through region just for the privilege of playing one of American Fork, Corner Canyon, if a Bingham or Pleasant Grove comes, I mean, and I'm not even writing those guys off. Those are four tough teams, and then you have to get through your region again essentially, and then you have to play the winner of that bracket. Whew, that's a tough break for Layton. There's no doubt about it.
Hector, what do you think about that Farmington Weaver game? Obviously, Malachi Spencer missed the last game this last week with a concussion. I assume that he'll be back and ready to go. I believe by Friday it is. So, 20, yeah, by Friday. I mean, obviously that's a great matchup. You got Hunter Skank, you got Jordan, you got Malachi on one side. I watched Farmington take down Davis at Davis. Paul Beatty played excellent. The guard line played excellent for Farmington. What do you see in that game? That one's a tough one.
I mean, I think it's going to come down to defense with that one. I think if Paul can stay out of foul trouble, they can use him as like that hybrid defender. I know they've put him on guard sometimes because he can really move laterally, and he does bother you with that length because he doesn't have to play as close to you as like a normal guard that's not 6'9". And then he's playing so far back off of you that you can't really get into the lane.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the ball over, and then he's a really good help side defender. Um, I, that one's tough. It's kind of hard to go against Hunter because I don't think he's had that crazy game that he had last year, where he had so many crazy games, and I know he's got a few more weapons this year.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see him just taking over, and the question's going to be what Farmington guard can hang with him. So, Paul, I love you, but man,
How'd you go?
I can't go. Hunter and Spencer are just too good.
And
I
it's at Weber too. I mean, again, going back to the comment about Wasatch and Box Elder, it's a home game.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
for sure.
so I think Weber advances. Um, Layton is not crying right now. They don't care who the heck they play. Never had a chance to coach KJ, but he's a really, really good kid. Um, how can you bet against David Katoa? Not only the best two-way player in the state, but the nicest kid
Mm-hmm.
ever. And big shout out to Makai, committed to Snow today.
Yes, you did.
Layton's up for the challenge. I know Coach Miller, he's like, it is what it is. Let's just prove everybody wrong and go win this thing. So I have them coming out of that bracket
Love it.
regardless.
Let's talk about the top half there, you guys. Assuming Corner Canyon gets by Pleasant Grove, which Pleasant Grove is capable, but let's assume they get there. Bingham and American Fork is going to be a good one. I'm not selling Bingham short. Obviously, Luke West has had a phenomenal season. But let's assume that we're on status quo here, and you got a Corner Canyon American Fork matchup. I got a message today that said whoever wins by one of the players on one of those two teams that says whoever wins this game is going to win 6A. What are your guys' thoughts on a potential matchup with Corner Canyon and
I
American
think
Fork?
I think Cooper Lewis has something to say about that entire conversation,
Among other
along with
people, obviously.
amongst other people. But I mean, I think Corner Canyon is probably the, quote, I keep saying like the betting favorite. I really don't bet. I don't have a gambling problem. I've never actually, like, I've bet on sports one time in my entire life. So, but I'm just kind of using that as an example. They have, arguably the best player in the state, regardless of any. I mean, Wasatch, Utah Prep, any of them, right? Like Brody is, and he's played enough to be gelling back with the team. Noah and Darrell and Brighton it's hard to say that Corner Canyon is going to lose. But if someone is going to beat them, I think American Fork, who, we got, I think did all three of us, were we all at the did the American Fork Sunrise Christian game? Where they just, beat the snot out of a nationally ranked team. I mean, I think American Fork is a team that it would not be a surprising win if American Fork beat Corner Canyon to come out of that part of the bracket. I don't think at all. But
Hector, what do you think about that?
but I've got Corner Canyon winning. It's
Hector, what do you think about that matchup? Obviously, from my perspective, the last few games, if you look at American Fork, they've been quietly rolling, right? Blake Rawson getting his groove, finding that flow. Obviously, it seems like they're going a little bit more inside out. Whereas early on it was more Shepard, it was more Cuff, leading the way in scoring. So I think that they're operating differently than maybe they were early on, even when they were good. But what challenges does an AF team pose to Corner Canyon, Hector, and how do you see that one playing out?
I think that one of the biggest aspects of that game is what Blake Rawson can do to their bigs. Blake is a throwback player. He's going to take some charges. He's going to get in your head, and what happens when Darrell gets a couple of early fouls or what, and then then Brody has to guard, which is fine. But Corner Canyon's got too many guys this year. I mean, Noah Bendinger he's just starting to kind of get back. You got Brighton, who is an excellent point guard, but he's shooting the ball well.
Yeah.
I mean, is it Taylor Farrow? He's kind of like the unsung guy, but on him to get going. Isaac Nybar, he just had a monster dunk on, I won't say his name at Bingham, but it's like it's like the Patriots dynasty right now, Canyon, and I just kind of can't go against them. Tiger Cup's good, I get that, but I mean, I think Shepard's going to have to go for 25. Tiger's going to have to go for like 20. Rawson's going to have like 15. Reese Dent's going to have like 20. Like,
the big ask, right?
It's hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
Let's bounce to the other side, you guys. You got let's look down below. I love this part of the bracket. You got obviously Herriman taking on Skyridge. We've talked a lot about Herriman this year. They came to me at the beginning of the season and said, you need to put us in the conversation because we have guys. They do have guys. They got a lot of good players. Obviously, you got Ike Palmer, you got Barclay, you got the Tuller kid, you've got obviously Carlo at the point. Herriman or Skyridge presents some problems though. You mess around with Jordan Kohler, he's going to put 28 on you and he's going to send you packing. That bracket also has Fremont and Davis. Adam, I know you're a big on Davis this entire season. Talk about those two matchups: Herriman, Skyridge, Fremont, Davis, and how you see those two play out. Does Herriman get out of
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I think it's probably again, like it's I would I would call it chalk. So I think Harriman's going to beat Skyridge. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. I've only seen Fremont play a couple times. I've seen Davis play quite a few times as well. I think Davis has enough. I really love how they shoot it. How I mean they're coached from seventh grade, and they run that's the same stuff. So by the time they get to become freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors, and they don't understand the system. And so I think Davis is gonna play Herriman. But of course, Skyridge and Fremont, they've got dudes who can go out and they'll give you buckets. And if you're not careful, or if you get caught on a tough shooting night, but the Davis crowd's always great. The Herriman crowd is great. Those are home games again. You probably heard me say this a lot, but I really track the emotional nature, even in the NBA, even in college. These are elite athletes who get impacted by being in a different environment, seeing the basket a little bit differently, and it just takes that little tiny bit to give that advantage. So I tend to skew a little bit more towards the home team in some of these games. So I'm going to go Harriman and Davis.
Hector, your thoughts?
I think 6A and 5A are different, where like you don't have teams traveling like 3 hours to
Right.
go there. I mean, Davis is going to go down the street. If they had to at Fremont's really close. I think Davis wins. Hunter Hansen had a phenomenal high school career. I
Hmm.
hope he continues to stay healthy, and he's going to be over at Weber State eventually. Coleman Atwater's playing at a really good level. Zach Fisher, I think there's still some more
Who's
that
the
he
point guard? What's his name though?
Ike Fisher.
Morgan.
Davis. Ike Morgan.
Or Ike Morgan, yeah,
Ike
sorry, yeah.
Morgan is tough
He's
as
good.
nails. That kid.
And he's played
He's
really well down the stretch.
he's played really, really well. He plays well in close games. Yeah, I wanted to give him a shout out. I've watched him play a couple times. I almost called him Ike Palmer, and I'm like, that's not it. And then I was just talking about Morgan, and I'm like, is it Morgan? But yeah, he's a tough kid. I like how he plays a lot.
Hector, talk about what do you need to see from Zach Fisher for Davis to get by a potential matchup with Herriman? I'm huge. I'm a big Zach Fisher guy. I love the way he plays. I love the way he played all summer. I've seen him a couple of games this year where he was like against Layton, where he was just going crazy in the first half, and then in the second half at Layton, if Coleman Atwater didn't come alive, that game would have got out of hand quick. What do you need to? I mean, obviously Zach has the talent to be one of the best players, if not the best player on the floor. What do you need to see from him as they try and make a deep run here?
I think he needs to just make quicker moves. Like when he touches the ball, sometimes he's surveying what's going on. If like he catches it on the post, if he turns and faces and jabs and goes, or rip and go, it's kind of like when he was playing club for Utah Gold. It was a different player on Utah Gold than he was at the high school. But they have Easton Ralphs now down there as a big, so he doesn't have to play that position. And he needs to go hunt for the ball.
Yeah.
Like, I think Coleman does a really good job staying kind of close to the ball.
And he's never met a shot he don't like.
But the thing is that Coleman stays in the line of vision of that player who has the ball, and that's what he gets a lot. If Zach is constantly moving, I mean, he could have a really big game. I don't know if they have enough to beat Herriman. I think Harriman's going to cruise against Skyridge. Malcolm Johnson, he was living in the weight room. That kid is huge now. Barclay is a really good kind of hybrid shooter in the post kind of a kid. And, Carlo Mulford's doing a really good job of getting his team into the offense and scoring. You got Ike Palmer, who's just a big guard. I think they're too big and too skilled for Davis, in my opinion. But I think Herriman advances. But Davis is good. They have a shot just like any other team does. But I think the culture is changing in Herriman. For so many years, they've had some talent, and they just could never get past the hump. Coach Doug Meekum over there has done a fantastic job, and this senior group over at Herriman, they've been good since they were freshmen, just not good enough. I think they're good enough to be in the Final Four.
I love it. And obviously when I speak of Zach, I see the talent that he has. If he puts together 4-quarter game with what Coleman brings, they're capable of sending Herriman home. Just put everybody
Right.
on notice there. Zach's super talented. I love the way he plays. Looking at the top half of that, we'll assume that Herriman gets out of there. Obviously, you've got a Lone Peak versus Riverton matchup, followed by a potential, if everything goes the way it should, a Lehigh Lone Peak matchup. Obviously, Cooper Lewis has been going crazy this entire season, big game after big game. Ironically, the one game I got to go see in person, he had like 10 points at Davis, right? And they still won, but I was looking for the show, and got the just the warm up to that. But talk about that region, Lone Peak and Riverton. Obviously, Riverton is going to have the home court advantage there. Riverton obviously got off to a great start earlier in the season. Kind of struggled against the good teams, the upper echelon teams. How do you guys see in that Lone Peak Riverton, followed by whoever wins that, taking on Lehigh in that quarterfinal round? Adam, let's start with
Yeah,
you.
I've got Lone Peak coming out. I mean, they're maybe a little bit similar to Springville over in 5A. They've kind of been a team that sort of has a talent, and they'll rise and they'll fall. And I think they've lost some games and they've gotten blown out of some games, quite candidly. But they've certainly they've got the talent. Riverton has, like who's the guy? Evan Barrett. I've
Barrett,
watched
yeah.
him play a couple times. They've got some guard play. Um, I think either one of those teams is playing, for me personally, to be able to make the quarterfinals, and I got Lehigh coming out of that with, probably, I don't want to say it's not easy. Nothing's ever easy. I don't mean it like that. I just mean compared to, say Layton or Corner Canyon's path, it's a little bit easier. But of course, Riverton and Lone Peak have beaten some teams. Lehigh has been in some games. Heck, if you look at let's say Westlake gets through and they play Lehigh, a team like Westlake is gonna give Lehigh all they want.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mean to say it like, oh, they don't even have to show up. Like, of course they got to show up, but I have Lehigh coming out and beating Lone Peak in that quarterfinal.
Hector, you're a big Chamberlain Burgess guy, as I am. Talk about Chamberlain, what he's been doing down the stretch here, coming off a couple of big games down the stretch. What problems does he pose for Riverton? Obviously, Lone Peak's got a lot of talent. You got Kramer, you got Taylor over there shooting the rock. Obviously Chamberlain, but just talk about that Lone Peak team. Do they have what it takes to maybe pull the upset and go on a little run here, maybe even get by Lehigh?
100%. I don't think Lone Peak has been fully healthy enough games in a row. I think Ike Staley is finally starting to get kind of healthy. I was kind of psyched that he's soft, but Riverton has a big Christian Henninger,
7-footer.
7-footer.
Yeah.
There's no way he can run with Chamberlain.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, Ben Barris might have to guard him, or Zach Edwards. I love my guy Kane Allred over at Riverton, but I just see Lone Peak kind of moving on. And I'm going to kind of go against everybody in this, maybe, and I'm going to take Lone Peak over Lehigh. I think Ike Staley's going to shoot the lights out, and Cooper Lewis is going to shoot the lights out. I think Easton Hawkins is going to be fantastic. That'd be probably the best game of the tournament. But I just want to see Tom Kramer chase Cooper Lewis around. He's got the height. He's got the speed. I know he plays soccer, and he just don't let him get open. And I'm curious who will step up besides Easton Hawkins on that Lehigh team. Whereas Lone Peak has Taylor that can shoot it, and they could go to Burgess. And they got a few other guys that they can go to on that bench. So I'm gonna take Lone Peak coming out of there. That's kind of my hot take.
it. I can't say. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that a lot.
Can I
Got to
just
give a
say, can
shout
I just
out
take a
to.
minute, by the way, an
Yeah,
hour into this,
yeah.
and make another comment? Hector, your knowledge of these players is, and I don't mean this like it's crazy how much you can tell, like you study and you care about this. Yeah, I just want to say, like, I really appreciate you for like everything that you do for the Utah basketball community. Just as you're talking, I'm like, man, that is a vault of information that just like comes out of your mouth. It's crazy. So I really appreciate that. I know you put a lot of time into it. I know you. So just thanks for all you do, man. It's awesome. Everyone go subscribe over at
Prep
Prep
hoops,
Hoops and
baby.
Prep Girls Hoops and
Yep.
PrepHoops.com.
Oh, I love it. Hey, as we wrap up 6A here, Adam, give me your Final Four. Give me your championship. Who's cutting down the nets in 6A?
I got Herriman. I got Lehigh. I got Herriman beating Lehigh. I got
Wow.
Layton in a close game over my guys at Weber. I had that as a toss-up. And then Corner Canyon beating Herriman in the championship. That's what I got.
Hector, what do you got?
I got Corner Canyon smacking PG by 38. PG will set a state record for 65 3-point attempts. I think Corner Canyon figures out a way to get by American
Hmm.
Fork. I think Lone Peak will beat Lehigh. I have Herriman coming out, and I have a Herriman Corner Canyon final. I think Corner Canyon wins again, and they're going to be good again next
Yeah.
year. Sorry to say, guys, they got some dudes. I mean, if you haven't seen Diesel Dart play, that kid is good. They got Mo Brown, freshman kid. He's good too. Like, like 2 or 3 guys will move into the area. They're going to be someone's basement will be empty, and they're
Hey, just so you guys know, I have plenty of room over here in Woods Cross. I've got a whole basement. We got a pool. Like we're good. We'll take some
Hey,
bigs for next year.
by the way, though, on that, I was looking this up on Pleasant Grove. While their record isn't great, they lost by 2 at Lone Peak, 6 against American Fork, 3 against Westlake. They beat Sky Ridge, and they lost to Lehigh by 5. So
so
that I
you're
mean,
saying you're saying they
I'm
still
just saying
lost
I don't think they're losing by 28 points, Hector. That's
38
what
is
I'm
what he
trying
said.
to say.
He said
38. They ain't
38.
losing. I don't think they're losing by 38.
38.
Anyway.
Darrell's gonna have 18 dunks.
All right, let me give you mine. I got Corner. I got Layton. I got Lehigh. I've got Herriman. I've got Corner Canyon taking on Lehigh. I just love what Lewis is doing. I think that Hawkins has been playing really, really well for them. He's going to have some big games in this tournament. I, I mean, how do you bet against Corner Canyon right now, right? It's Brody Kozlowski and everybody else. He's that good. He's big time. I love what he does. He can go inside, he can go outside. Durrell obviously can, he's playing his role. Would be the star player obviously on pretty much any other team that he's rolling with. Bendinger, I love his journey this year. There was times when he was uh, not starting, when he was having problems and really wasn't into it. I know Noah, he's a great kid, and I'm so happy to see what he's doing and how he's come on late. He just adds a different element. You got him out there shooting threes. You got Nybar getting to the rack. You got Brighton running the point, and bro, I mean, you can go. I mean, we're not talking about Taylor Farrell who can come in there and light you up too. So I mean, and all these other guys that are on there, but huge, huge opportunity for some teams to make some noise. Obviously, we're just going with our gut. Doesn't mean we don't like you guys.
We're gonna
Doesn't mean we're trying to
miss we're
offend
gonna
you.
miss so much. It happens
Oh,
all the time,
100%. Yeah,
right? Like
100%. 100%.
100%.
There,
Someone's gonna go like the Wings Cats, the Wing Lions rather. I had them as my dark horse, guys. I had you in my two-way dark horse to
the
make a
Flying
run in Roland
Cats
Hall.
disappointed.
You
Adam
disappointed
Pete.
me. I bet on you and ALA. I clearly my two-way basketball knowledge is
No,
nowhere near what Hector's is. But yeah, I agree, right? This is just it's something to talk about, and that's why they play the game, right? They're going to roll the ball out, they're going to go play it, and it's It's going to be fun.
I'll give you guys.
Let's take 2 seconds real quick, you guys. Hector, tell us where we can find your content. Where do people go to subscribe?
Before I say that, I'll give you 2 sleeper teams, 5A and 6A, that can wreck your bracket: Bingham and West Jordan.
West Jordan.
I've been to their practice.
Undefeated region.
I mean, the region's weak. It is what it is, but they play hard. They can get you. And then Bingham, same thing. They practice, they play hard, and they can get you too. You know, I'm over at Prep Hoops on the boys' side, and I just started the girls page. You know, maybe AJ or Adam could jump on and talk about the girls bracket if you guys want. Shoot, tomorrow before it gets started. No, I just got to jump myself, huh?
I cannot do that.
I might have to pass on that one as well there, my guy.
Not because I don't love women's basketball, because I don't barely have time for the boys basketball, and my son plays and I host a podcast about it. So I can't even imagine.
But here's the thing that I want most people to know is that the level of Utah basketball in the state is at an all-time high. And even when I go to the Youngblood League and see the younger kids play, like, it's different. And so, you know, these guys like, you know, the Brodies, the Jacksons, the Drisdams, people are watching them play, these younger kids, and they're elevating their game. I was at a Lone Peak game, and, you know, they sign autographs after games, and there was probably like 100 kids just, you know, so, you know, there's a platform for people to subscribe and, you know, check out the content. I try to do my homework. I can't get to everybody. I try. But if I'm at a game, I'm probably watching another game at the same time. I try my best. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Adam, tell us about the podcast. Where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm just interviewing people because I have a podcast studio in my house. So you can go on Apple or Spotify and find the Utah High School Hoops podcast. It's on Twitter. Sometimes I put them out here on Instagram. I get to interview super cool people from across the state, and even, you know, college coaches who have been recruiting the state. So I got to talk to the assistant coach from Grinnell College. If you don't know about Grinnell College, they go watch Pleasant Grove play. But, you know, it's just a fun time. It's a fun time to be able to talk about basketball, kind of create some long form content. So you can go check it out at the Utah High School Hoops podcast. And any coaches, high school coaches, you want to come on and talk about your team, that's going to be it's fun. I really enjoy it, and I've done 350 interviews across the world in my life through my full-time job. So don't be afraid. I got you. We'll have a great time.
I love it, guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Obviously, you know where you can find me every day, pretty much, on Instagram. That's where we live. Appreciate you guys. Obviously, a lot can change between now and next Sunday, so we might have to run this back next Sunday, break down what the end game looks like for all these teams. But we certainly appreciate your time. Adam Peak, obviously Hector Marquez. You can find Adam. His podcast is fantastic. Go check him out. And obviously, Hector does a great job with Prep Hoops, both on the boys and the girls side. You can subscribe and get all that content there. So, guys, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us. It's going to be a fun week. I know where I'll be tomorrow night. I'm super excited. And we'll catch up with you guys later this week. But you can just follow along. It's going to be buckle up. It's going to be a fun one, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Go Nuggets.
Nuggets. Big Nuggets fan. That's all we have for Monday Night Ballers. We appreciate you guys. Good luck to all the coaches. Good luck to all the players out there. Until you get to your game, I want you to level up. Make sure you're opening the doors, saying thank you, and appreciating this journey that you're on, because there's a lot of things that we can do to be better in this world, and that's what we should be doing. So have a great day tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow night if you guys are hooping, and then we'll catch up with you throughout the week. Scoreboard tomorrow night. We'll see you. Thanks, guys.